Today's topic is mediating visitation when the teenager does not want to visit. Part of the series, Mediation Tips by Fran Brochstein.
Welcome to the Lawyers and Mediators International Show and podcast by instantmediations.com, where we discuss law and conflict resolution topics to educate both professionals and everyday people. Catch regular episodes on YouTube, the Instant Mediations app, and anywhere you get your podcasts. Just remember, nothing in these episodes constitutes legal advice, so be sure to talk to a lawyer, as cases are fact dependent.
Thanks for joining us. I am Fran Brochstein. I am an attorney and mediator in Texas.
And hi, I'm Pierre-Louis, attorney, mediator, arbitrator, working throughout Florida and Texas.
And I am Natalia Ołowska-Czajka, advocate, mediator, and arbitrator from Warsaw, Poland.
So today's topic is teenagers, which is always an interesting topic. First of all, teenagers are growing up and they're developing their own opinions and their own attitudes. So, Natalia, what have you seen in dealing with teenagers that no longer want to visit one of the parents?
Oh, this is, I sometimes feel that this is a topic number one in mediation when the kids are teenagers, because it's also a part of the teenagers wishing to make a point of their own personality, playing their own battle between the parents who are divorcing or separating, going through the difficulties in their relationship. And the teenagers then take their own position. Sometimes they are very strongly opposing one of the parents, whom, for example, they consider the guilty one because of this breach of this relationship. They have their own feelings. They remember how this relationship operated for years, how it was functional. And therefore, they do have their own regrets. Sometimes the parents say, oh, blaming the other parent, it's all your fault. You just set up this kid against me. Whereas they really stop understanding, or they never understood, that their kid is developing their own opinions also on the relationship of their parents. That can lead to the kid saying to their parents, oh, you should have divorced many years ago, or the kid also taking a position in the conflict in between the parents, which then results in the teenager saying, no, I don't want to visit my father or my mother. And that really creates a problem that needs to be addressed. And I understand that we are now going to present how in mediation we are dealing with it and what we want to show and tell the parents how they can try to work on that. Mark, what do you think?
So one of the reasons we pick these topics is because we, as practitioners, lawyers, mediators, we've dealt with this before, right? We specifically pick topics that we believe people are going to be searching YouTube and Google for, because these questions come up all the time, all over the world, whatever family law court you're going to be in. And so I've had multiple cases, multiple times, okay, across many years, of a parent contacting me and telling me my son or daughter does not want to go see his father or her father, okay? Or sometimes vice versa, where a parent will call me and be like, hey, my child, the other parent is not letting the child come see me. That's a little different from the parent is not encouraging the child to come see me, all right? A lot of times it's the latter. That's what we typically see, where there's brokenness between one parent and a teen, and the other parent not doing much about it, or sometimes even flat out encouraging that child not to go visit the other parent, but never admit it, right? Because nobody wants to be in violation of a court order and get in trouble. So they sometimes do nothing. So then we get into these questions. Okay, what is a parent supposed to do? Are they supposed to drag their kids kicking and screaming and force them to get in the other parent's car? What does surrender mean? We get into all these debates. Or like, what age can a child decide, I don't want to go see my parent? Okay, look, all these questions can be dealt with in court. But a lot of times we end up addressing them at the table, at mediation. And so what this talk is about is to try to get to some of the points of things we've seen, some things that we can put into orders to maybe assuage this problem, because it is a problem. I mean, we all agree, right, ladies, that parents should have a good relationship with their kids and vice versa. But how do we get there? And is mediation a good place to do it instead of the courthouse? So I guess I can start off with one point and then we can go around robin and discuss again. Um, Spending quality time with your child, sometimes that is the reason why a kid doesn't want to go see you. It's because they're bored. They don't want to go see you. They don't want to go to your home. Sometimes it has nothing to do with parental alienation because the other parent, doesn't encourage, or the other parent tells the child, "Don't go, don't go." Sometimes it's the teenager just wants to be a teen and they don't want to go see you. So maybe you gotta start thinking outside the box of other things you can do with your teen to help promote a good relationship so that they can want to come see you, right? And maybe the parents agree to some of these new things and put them into a mediation agreement so they can be on the same page, so they can work as a team and go back to the child and say, listen, you need to go with the other parent because this is what you're going to get to do. Don't lock your kid up to stay home by themselves and let them watch TV all day if that child is really crying out for attention and belongingness. Anyway, that's my 2 cents about the whole quality time thing. I think it's a big, big component, and parents should do more to actually activate interest in their child to come see them.
And a lot of kids want to spend time with their friends. They don't want to be with either parent because we're old and we're boring. So I encourage people to do what the child wants to do, such as go do an activity. We were discussing this before we started recording. Maybe pick what the child likes to do. Ask the child what you'd like to do. Uh, for example, if the kid's at your house asleep, that is not, you're not interacting with the child. So sometimes taking them to dinner or going to see a movie or doing an activity for 2 or 3 hours may be great. And then they can go see their friends and spend time doing things with their friends in school because before you know it, they turn 18. And in Texas, visitation ends the day they turn 18. But that doesn't mean you're not going to parent. I'm still parenting my child. She will always be my baby, whether she likes it or not. It's just as time went on, our relationship changed and I learned to do things that she liked. Plus, once she got a car at 17, she basically, I lost total and complete control. But I had a wonderful errand runner. And when she went to college, I was extremely upset. The dog and I were very unhappy because we
That's funny.
lost our helper. So, Natalia, what have you seen with teenagers?
I think that also what is now happening, we live in the time of pandemics and lockdowns beforehand, which also resulted in many parents being factually deprived of the contact with the children because of them being ill, because of certain precautions, because of the professions they exercise, like being a doctor or a nurse. Which then would be inappropriate to come and see the child. That can lead to certain estrangement, and but doesn't necessarily mean that lack of physical contact is lack of the contact at all. Absolutely not. I think that parents need to use technology, which is the natural surrounding world for our teenagers nowadays. There are so many social media you can share, you can play things on, even computer games. They might be detrimental, but at least you not only have parental control over what your kid does in the internet, but also you engage yourself into some sort of an interactive play with them. Video watch party. When you pick up a movie where you can comment on that, and that can be quite entertaining too. So sometimes we also need to switch in terms of what we want. parents can be demanding physical contact. Physical contact, it's not necessarily what the child would want for themselves. Maybe they would want to be able to present to their other colleagues and friends saying, wow, I play with my dad this or this game, or I'm actually doing museums online with my mom or my grandma. So there are a lot of things you can have as a shared activity, even if there is a lack of physical contact. However, ultimately, it might lead to a point when this lack of contact is really a problem. Because even if you offer the most exciting trip, the most fantastic time with friends, the child will say no. And what then?
Yeah, and another big thing, just real quick, is you got to start all this young. Okay. Don't be waiting until this child is 17 to all of a sudden play Father of the Year, to take your kid to Disney World. I mean, seriously, kids are not dumb. All right. You, a big difference exists between a 13-year-old and a 17-year-old. A 17-year-old who knows they're about to go to college next year and they are just waiting for a court order to expire. I mean, look, big secret, but kids Google this stuff too. That's the thing with these little smartphone machines we have. Children literally Google things like, do I have to go see my parents? Okay. In fact, some teenagers might be watching this video right now. And hey, we're not giving advice to any teenagers. All right. So go talk to your parents if you're watching this. But to all the parents out there, be responsible and do what it takes, what needs to happen to make sure that your child has adequate motivation to want to come see you. But then to Natalia's point, okay, let's say then it becomes a problem and you it's not happening. Okay. When we get to mediation, some of the antidotes or some of the solutions for this problem might be to deal with underlying issues between the two parents. Because a lot of time it does come down to motivation by one parent. Sometimes, if both parents are on the same page and they agree to jointly encourage the child to go see one parent, that has a big chance of making it happen and resolving the problem. But if one parent stands in the way of that progress and doesn't encourage a child, you may have a big fight in your hands. You might find yourself in court pointing fingers saying, judge, this parent is not encouraging the child to go with me. And the other parent's going to defend and say things like, well, look, I made the kid available and my hands clean. I'm not preventing, but they don't want to go. I'm not going to force my child to go. And so when you get to the mediation table, one of the ways you can address this is by putting language that's going to maybe deal with therapy or counseling or anything, maybe a parent facilitator, anything that's going to encourage both parents to push, to move, to prod, to get the child to go. Okay, so that's something I I've seen courts dabble into it, but I think all a court can do is say something like each parent is ordered to encourage the child to go see the other parent. But we all very well know, how do you enforce encourage, right? So maybe the parents need to do this at mediation where they can actually get a third party involved to help this encouraging take place. Therapy, counseling, facilitators, people like that. Thoughts?
Well, and I've done some in my own family where father didn't see his daughter for a long time. And I kept saying to him as an attorney, keep the door open just a smidgen and send her cards for her birthday, for all the holidays. I said, send her a card every month. And for people that didn't have done mediations with people that had very limited funds, I said, you can go to the dollar store and buy a postcard and spend $1.50 and mail a card every month. And also, on every time you talk or text or email, say, I love you. It's always say, end every conversation with, I love you. And again, in most cases, what happens after a few years, usually when they turn about 20, they wake up, they grow up, and they decide usually that they then want a relationship with the parent. So even if there's a period where you don't see your child, you can be involved with text messaging, emailing, maybe FaceTiming, but always keep in touch and always say, I love you. I think those are very powerful words that um, many parents don't, they forget to say it. Natalia, do you have any other thoughts?
And this is very important what you just said, because I do believe that even if the kid is definitely saying, I don't want to see them, usually it's also a sign how much they lack the attention of this parent. So sending those signals, doing it in an appropriate way, making themselves available. I had so many parents that actually served as taxi drivers to their children so that they can spend time with them, so that they can see, the children can see a real interest, real some sort of even just inclination this parent has for the child, because the child imagine that they mean nothing to this very parent, and it took them serving the kid in everyday circumstances to persuade there is something going on. But all in all, I do have a lot of clients. I have seen a lot of parents that go and ask themselves in a therapy, a psychologist, a counselor, of what is the wise way to contact the child. If I have a daughter, should I be sending her music on social media? Should I be picking certain things? Should I be sending flowers or jewelry? If I have a son, what should I be doing to them? Maybe offering them the tickets for a fantastic soccer play that is about to happen. Something that will raise their interest and allow you even to spend, to just start something. But there are some witty ways that you can use even practically. There are things that even teenagers sometimes can't resist. These things are, first, puppies and kittens. They are so sweet that if you buy yourself one and take care of them, that might be a very tempting factor, making your kid wanting to see you again. The second thing is preparing a physical album with photos, collecting the photos of the years you spent together, of the most fantastic moments. Your phone can be filled with it. You can even ask the other parent and make a compilation of photos showing that you were present in this kid's life throughout this entire time, and making a gift that you'll send over. But what we typically do in mediation is we are setting up a counselor that is going to do the so-called bond therapy. So in order to have a bond, you have to take care of it. And many people don't know how to do that. You can't expect from the child, from a teenager, to know how to do that. You can expect that from a parent to know how to do that, but many people simply don't. They believe that this is my child, it needs to love me, but it doesn't work this way. You need to put something out of yourself, and what this something is, you are being taught during the therapy, where you also open yourself to listen to your teenage kid.
And all that effort, let's be honest, also may not work. And guess what? That might be okay, because one of the things that you're doing is planting a seed that can later germinate later in the future. Okay, the example that Fran was giving about the father who was encouraged to send cards to his daughter, it was to keep that door open, because one day somebody might wake up and realize that, you know what, they're still loved. And the teenage years are brutal sometimes, but guess what? The good news is they're short. I mean, they only last like 6 years, in my opinion. Okay, from 12 to 18, that's it. And then you're dealing with a whole nother, animal. But I was just gonna say, because we're running out of time. So I had said start young, consider temporary custody changes. Okay. Sometimes a parent and a child need bonding time. Consider letting letting your son go live with his father for a season. And you can do a temporary agreement and just let it be temporary. And then when things change, you can go back to the prior order or turn it into a new final updated order. That's been done. That might resolve a lot of the tensions and issues. Consider you know, consider how other ways to help with this situation. So if a parent demands a child to come to their place and their position is, well, I'm the father, I'm the mother, and you must come because it's my time. Just know that if, like I said before, if a child goes into your home and just sits there in the four corners and looks at the TV all day and they're not motivated to want to exercise the time with you, then you're going about it all wrong. You just being the parent is not going to necessarily change their mind. You being their parent and their encourager, their friend, their confidant, their person they can, work with might. Again, no guarantees on it. And then finally, what about friends? Okay. Teenagers sometimes are rebellious on purpose because they want to spend less time with you and more time with their friends. And so a lot of time I've seen parents where they forget that fact and they isolate a child from their friends. Maybe because it's distance, maybe because the child doesn't have people who he or she is used to hanging with, nearby. But you gotta try to find ways to do things with their friends. Okay, bring more people. Okay, have sleepovers. Don't just bring your kid, bring their friend too. Talk to their parent first, obviously, but there's so many other things. You just gotta think outside the box. So anyway, I've just seen too much negativity come from a lot of this over the years, and I'm encouraging parents to work with the other parent, go to mediation, talk it out, and get third parties involved, therapists, anybody who can give ideas and suggestions. And it can work, but you just got to think outside the box. Anyway, that's it, guys. We're 22 minutes in. Thanks so much for stopping by, Fran. As usual, Natalia will come back next time for another talk. All right, ladies?
Bye bye.
See you soon. Bye.